What's your thoughts on government cover-ups or covert societies attempting to control humanity? Do you believe in ancient astronauts, intergalactic communication, or extraterrestrial visitations? Ever had an experience with disembodied spirits or the paranormal universe? Are these subjects fact or fiction? Each week, Tony and Eddie explore these unbelievable realities and beyond. Exclusively on Truth Be Told.
Welcome back to Truth Be Told, where we believe in experience becomes truth. I'm your host, Tony Sweet, and I'm here with world-renowned psychic Eddie Connor.
Hi, everyone.
Tonight, we want to thank you for supporting our sponsors. For over 40 years, Earth Friendly Products has brought you the greenest home products for all your family needs. Go to ecos.com, that's ecos.com.
Speaking of sponsors, take your mind on a literary journey by traveling over to adventuresunlimitedpress.com, where you can purchase books from many of our famed experts featured right here on Truth Be Told.
Tonight's guest, Marisa Russo, is visiting us from the land down under. She is a forensic healer, and I know our audience can't wait to learn more about her unique healing work.
That's a subject I'm absolutely fascinated by, and I can't wait to ask her questions. Marisa is an international alternative therapist, professional speaker, and an author for women's health and transformation. Today, Marisa will be revealing a few of her secrets for helping women break free from the negative impact of their past so they can finally experience the life they deserve and desire.
And we don't want to forget about her book, Women Breaking Free.
And without further ado, please welcome forensic healer and our new Australian friend, Marisa Russo.
She's here. She's back.
Hey, Tony.
Hello, beautiful lady. How are you?
Good to see you.
It's been, I can't believe, it's 2 or 3, 4 years. I can't believe it's been that long. And I have to say, the last time I saw you on, at least on the show, you did a healing on me.
Yeah.
And even to this day, my mid-back, where it was constantly hurting, I didn't even know why. It doesn't hurt to that extent. I barely even notice it now.
That's awesome.
So thank you for that.
Wow, fantastic. Cool.
Well, I know this is going to be a show that Eddie and I and our audience are really going to enjoy. And if you wouldn't mind introducing your lovely student here.
Yeah, well, I've got Emma with me, and she's repeating. I teach forensic healing. I'm the founder of Forensic Healing. I teach a 7-day live training course, and she's repeating it. So this is her second time around.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
And,
thank you.
She is absolutely amazing and got her own personal story about the transformations she's had. So Emma is all the way from my hometown, Melbourne. So hi, Emma.
Oh,
Welcome.
Wow.
All right, so
Thank you.
let's start for the audience that we have grown to have that really doesn't know your story and where you began your work, because you had some tragedy, a lot of tragedy in your life that you really kind of evolved into what you are today because of it.
Yeah, well, tough story. However, the journey's been interesting. It's never a never easy journey to overcome, like emotional abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse in my childhood. And I went through that process of being disconnected, and that's what we try and do, reconnect people, because to survive something like that, to survive shock and trauma, we disconnect. Women particularly ignore their feelings, and which is, I call your GPS, guides you to where you should be. So this journey of healing myself came about, it was forced upon me because this emotional trauma turned into a physical element of me being just beyond words of the pain I endured and carried around my neck and my back, and pushed me to start trying something different, alternative healing. And in that process, I spent years and decades trying to heal myself emotionally, and then all my emotions started to come out, and then I started to reconnect, and I had a moment of feeling energy. I had a moment of actually physically moving. You experienced that when I was doing the healing. I'm a very good conduit. I feel everything. And then I created forensic healing because I couldn't get all the answers, and I tried many modalities. And forensic healing is about reading your energy field and finding the causes, going back to the age of where something happened. And mine goes back to particular ages of the time I was sexually abused at age 6. And when that was released, it just changed everything. And so the journey led to then healing women. I tend to be really good at knowing how they feel, often second-class citizens. They end up with partners who don't treat them well. I know I'm generalizing, but that's what I get. A lot of them have been abused. So that's my specialty. However, overall, it's about reconnecting and getting you connected to who you are and living in your integrity, because living in integrity is like it's showing the world who you are. So that's sort of the journey, and it keeps evolving. It's amazing. And when you live in your integrity, you get shown truth. You reflect it. So, yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
But that's, I mean, the Cliff Notes, it's very simple and very to the point. So thank you for sharing that. I know in abuse and all of that is not just towards women, it happens for everyone. And was the more focus on the women because you are a woman or woman, or is it because what was the reason for that?
Well, the reason was because mainly women attend the workshops. It's mainly women that come and get healings. And then I'm guided. I'm very guided. And I had mixed groups, and it was where there was conflict happening.
You mean between the genders?
Well, I started to attract had some men in there, and some even owned it. One stood up and said, I just need to apologize. I abused in past lives. I've abused like this person, that person. And they all had this reaction of falling on the ground and crying and feeling the abuse when he said it. And we had difficulty. And it was just my message to say, I need to just focus on women. It just keeps it safe. And a lot of women say, I'm only doing your workshop because I've been abused by a male.
Yes.
And that's just what I've been led to.
Right.
And
yeah.
My perspective on that is that women's frequencies, their energy, their emotions are more pure. And I think that when you do have that space you're describing with just women, then they can safely emote and transform and heal and connect again, as you say.
Yeah. And they're actually most responsive and more open, as you said. They want this more. It's just because of the number. You look at the numbers and who rocks up, you get, it's like 95% are women. If I did have it open, it would always be a 95%, women turning up to the workshops.
Why do you think women are more open to trying outside of the box things, tools, thinkings, experiences over men?
Conditioning. Conditioning, as a conditioning that will... I've looked at this, and it'll be a religious conditioning. And if you look at the story of Adam and Eve, Adam's correct in what his journey is. Eve's the one to blame. She's the guilty one that actually takes the sinful one. And it actually says in the Bible, she shall know suffering all the days of her life. So she feels guilty, and it's a consciousness because the Bible is read by a third of the population. So this consciousness that they're right and women are wrong. So women are more open to say, well, maybe I'm not right, maybe I need help, whereas a consciousness of a male will be he feels he's right. In fact, I've looked at my ex-husband, and his mother would say to him or all the boys, it's always the wife's fault. She would never blame them. So they're conditioned to not take responsibility in relationships. So that's the generalization of one of the reasons. But women do have more feeling, and they do desire to be more for spiritual healing, and they just have a natural desire.
And just a sidebar, I find it fascinating that 1/3 of the human race reads the Bible, and 90% of them misinterpret it. Yeah, exactly. And then twist it to fit what they were told more than what they feel in their heart when they read certain material. I'm not putting anybody down, but that's my personal experience. Yes.
Well, look at all the religions, and they're all fighting against each other. But there's also, the words in it.
Yeah.
That Eve shall know suffering all the days of her life, and she shall be subservient, and that women are not to have authority or to speak. that, although that's the stuff that's underlying.
Yes, and it's taken literally when that's not the real meaning of it.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating. And even despite that, women are more powerful than men. Okay.
Which is true. Giving birth, I don't think I could.
Yeah.
Child, I just want to see you pass a kidney stone.
I haven't yet, and I don't want
But
to.
call Marissa first. I think the kidney stone's coming, Marissa. Help me.
Help. Well, like Eddie, being a psychic, he knew at a very young age that he had gifts, or at least I don't know if he thought it was a gift at the time.
I didn't think it was a gift at the time.
But you carry a lot of gifts that did you know it even before that? Maybe had that little light bulb in your head once in a while say you have a gift, or did you not realize until you went through the pain and realizing afterwards?
I get asked that question, and I didn't know I had a gift. I grew up wanting to kill myself. In fact, I thought I didn't want to be on the planet, and I used to wish that I never was alive because of the pain. Yeah. However, I had a question in my mind: what does this pain mean? Why is this so bad? It was beyond. And I thought there has to be some meaning behind it. And that's the only thing that I remember that I was thinking besides wanting to kill myself. The gift opened up when I reconnected, and then I felt everything. But prior to that, I thought I was born to die.
Really? That must have been a really lonely, sad time to think like that.
Yeah, it is sad and lonely, and a lot of people think like that. In fact, they don't have purpose and they don't feel joy.
Will you define what your gift was then and now? Meaning, I was a seer and a hearer,
yes,
but I was also very kinesthetic, and I didn't understand the feeling psychic stuff. I didn't like it.
Yes.
So I cut off from that so I could just see and hear without feeling the people hurt.
Yes.
That I was psychically picking up on. What was your psychic strength as a kid?
Well, I think it was I could see truth and
feel it.
Well, I shut down. I tried not to feel because my father would beat me, right? So I just shut down to not feel. But I knew truth. I knew I just knew that was wrong. So, but I didn't compromise it. So I stayed strong in, like, he would beat me, like, so that I would change, and I just chose not to change. So my only strength was that he wasn't going to completely destroy me yet. Yes. And then the gifts opened up when I reconnected, but because if you feel so much and you're going through pain, it's too traumatic. You can't survive.
That's true. You got to go somewhere.
Yes.
To survive it if you choose to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You have to protect yourself in
Yes.
some way. Otherwise, you're just going to be even worse than what you are. That's a real protection. So for her to shut down, that's what you got to do. Mm-hmm. And how brave of her then to later take away all that, find her real self, find your talents, and now teach it to so many women and heal so many people. And she's healing men and women.
Yes, yes.
It's just the classes she does, the women. And it's just amazing. She's just changed so many lives.
So can we go backwards one more step before you're born? Not to be too woo-woo esoteric over here.
Oh, you're allowed to be. That's
Thank
right.
you so much.
I'll give you permission.
That's
Go
my
ahead.
thing. Yeah, that's my thing.
You've got a picture of UFO behind your head.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah,
say
right.
that.
Right.
That's my Sunday go to meeting hat. So let's go back to before you were born. Do you believe that there are certain souls that come forth to suffer a little bit? Like, I know I came in to live 5 lifetimes before I was 20.
Absolutely.
And how about you ladies?
Yeah. You hold contracts, you hold karma curses.
See?
All of that. It all comes with you. And you'll find you'll have the same things will happen to you in each life. So like finding an abusive husband. You're probably killed in a previous life or been bullied by a man in a previous life and you haven't sorted it out there. So now you've got to come and sort it out in this life. So you take it with you. And the best thing about forensic healing is we can lift that. We can just find it out and discover it and lift it and take it away. And it's so empowering, so empowering.
Yeah, so I would, your soul's eternal. I think most people believe that you continue. It's a journey that's never ending.
70%.
70%, okay, so 70% believe that. And this lifetime is the best lifetime to free yourself of all that. This lifetime is when you meet up with the people or situations that you can heal. And I'll take off debts And I've seen these things that when someone says you owe me, you're going to pay for that in past lives, and it sort of ends up a curse, and they are continually suffering or paying for something that someone said you'll pay for what you've done. And when you take that off, it changes their attraction because they're no longer bound to suffer or pay someone off. And so we do debts as well. And my recent article that I wrote on Are You Contracted to Suffer is about that. It's I look at it, and what does suffering really do? I mean, really,
Nothing.
exactly nothing.
When all is
Eddie.
said and done.
Yeah.
And the soul sister of suffering is worry and fear.
Yes,
It
fear
does.
usually.
It does nothing for your soul. If you look at your changes, it's the people that have loved you the most. They elevate you, and doesn't love, then create more love. I mean, you can love if you've been loved. You can't love someone else if you don't feel love yourself. So if you've been abused, it's this journey of you will actually abuse other people. The percentage of you abusing someone else is a lot higher. And so suffering does nothing. And I've realized that if you look at the past, it's been pretty miserable. Like the centuries have been really cruel. This is our time to let go that it actually will serve you to suffer or to learn forgiveness or compassion. That's out. And I realize that we're actually being duped a little before we come to this life. We've agreed to stuff thinking that that would be good for us. And so I wrote this article on it, and then I wrote this cancellation to say, no, suffering, contracting to, endure certain things, teaches you things, isn't what it's 5 minutes ago. It's like out of date, wrong program. The new way to go forward is to love, be love, and give love. That's it.
How do you ladies feel about the energy on the earth plane now being more accelerated than it's been in X number of thousands of years? In that, if you have a negative thought now, you're going to manifest it a little quicker now than, let's say, you did 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And when we have these past lives, that's my belief system. We have past lives. In our current life, I remember I kept attracting relationships that perfectly mirrored my parents. Not pretty. And I kept attracting jobs that perfectly mirrored my parents. And then I kept attracting bosses that continued to mirror my authority figures when I was growing up, where I would give this much to them and I would get that much back if I was lucky. And that pattern followed me till I was about 30 years old. But once I started this work and understanding, and I knew it when I was a kid, but I didn't know how I knew what I knew. I knew I chose my parents. I knew I chose the hardships. And I started to put more energy and understanding in that. So then the victim aspect of me started to melt away very quickly. And I became empowered with learning how non-physical works, how the soul works, how soul pods work, how the invisible energy that governs us, how to work with it instead of against it. And then everything shifted. Where I'm going in a long-winded way is this. Even though I'm only 54 now, I know I have lived 5 lifetimes in one lifetime. Now I get it. I'm not repeating the same patterns over. And you, as they say, you get the little thump on the head once you don't get it, and then you'll get a little push, and then you'll get hit upside the head with the concrete block.
Yeah, well, I was smacked in the face last year.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So that you finally get it.
Yeah.
And then once you get it, because the energy is accelerated, you don't go back asswards anymore.
No.
And if you do for a moment, you sort of snap out of it.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Actually, I've got a question for you, Eddie. When your negative life patterns, it was just a constant thing, was about your parents and all that. What was your self-talk like? Was it negative? Were you like, oh, I don't want that job, or oh, you got to be careful what you ask for, don't you?
Yeah, not only do you have to be careful of it, my self-talk wasn't even my talk. It's what other people said about me.
Yes.
So it wasn't mine. And what I was doing was what I thought I was doing was outrunning. So when Grandma said, you'll never amount to anything, with my FU fuel, I did everything, with my mouth closed, I did everything in my power to prove her wrong. But in a very respectful Southern boy kind of way. So when my dad would call me sissy or whatever, then I did everything opposite of that word to prove to him. So I was trying to outrun everybody else's outward thoughts about me and secret things they said behind my back. So it wasn't even my thoughts. I didn't start realizing I was negative toward me and ugly toward me till I was in my late teens, early 20s, when my psychic powers, my gifts started coming back.
Yeah, it's a good way to analyze what you're saying. I would say to someone, if we started to write down everything you thought today, what would it look like? We start to write the book. What would it look like? What would I read? And that is exactly what you're telling yourself, and that is law of attraction. You'll draw to yourself. So it's really critical in watching what you're saying.
I love that you two are saying about this. And if you break it down, I like everything super, super simple. Because I was a slow child in school.
I was slower.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, we just drive in reverse on the way to school on the little bus. But if you break it down even more simple, if the thought, there's two thoughts in my opinion. There's high frequency, rich, opulent, connected to source, and there's low frequency, poverty, negative, disconnect from source. So one is going to be a piece of crap, and the other one's going to be a gold coin. At the end of the day, which pile is bigger?
Exactly.
The negative crap or the gold coins? And it's so easy to look over and see a gold coin and then go, oh my God, who's going to clean this up?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's fun. I love this. I love this work. Do you both think or believe that words carry frequency?
Yes.
Emma's got a great story about exactly that. Like, forensic healing is about reading your energy field. It's about finding out why are you creating exactly what you have in your life now. And so we pick apart ages, we pull apart your patterns. And Emma has this, Emma was working on abundance, and she will tell you the story of how she picked apart why she was struggling to be more abundant in her life. Emma.
Well, I've always had a terrible relationship with money. I've always wanted it. I got it, I would spend it. It was like I'd throw it away, literally. And I never understood this. Very frustrated with it. So I went to Marisa, found out something that came up at age 12. I was like, wow, age 12. My mum and I, my mum was a single mother. I was an only child. And we lived with my grandparents. And when she decided we would move out of that home and live on our own, which was fantastic. But she needed to work 2 jobs to keep me in a private school and keep me in this beautiful home. My mother was everything to me, beautiful woman. She had to work 2 jobs. She'd leave home at 8 o'clock in the morning. She'd be home at 11:30 at night. I was the loneliest 12-year-old in the world. She'd come home. I'm like, Mama, I just want you home. She goes, oh, but I got to work done. We need the money. I'd be like, I hate money. I don't want money. I want you.
Wow.
And
that's
guess what
huge.
I got?
Yeah, that's a pivotal time too.
Yeah, 12. So I didn't get the money. And then when I realized this, I was like, that's why, because money was related to me. I lost the best thing in my life. It took my mother away from me. So when I realized that, next thing, bang, because I had just done live training with Marisa in March in Melbourne. It was amazing. And I really wanted to come to LA. I didn't have the money for LA. Guess who's in LA?
You.
Guess who's in LA? And another thing I'll tell you, I've always wanted to do public speaking. Don't think I can get more public than a radio station. Right. What do you think?
You're going to, though.
Yeah. So it was I'm a very strong manifestor and it was very quick. So when you start finding out why, because that's literally a contract I put on myself. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't want money,
Well, and beyond the words, because words are literally 1%. The action is 1%.
I felt it.
That's what I was.
My heart was breaking. Money took my mother away from me.
And then you promised yourself you would never put yourself in that position with people you loved and cared about, and it goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And you're ready to give up all the nice things just to be with the object of your affection.
Yes.
That was absent.
Yeah.
Child, that's a good story. So
Thank
how'd you
you.
turn the beat around, honey?
I've turned it all around.
I know you have.
The whole lot. I've got amazing jobs. I'm doing forensic healing now. I've got lots of clients. They're beautiful, beautiful people. And I'm just helping people realize their stuff.
Well, I want to ask Marisa, because by you realizing it and just saying it doesn't always mean it's going to manifest to the next stage. Marisa, how do you take a student, or not even a student, or a client, or someone that says this to you, you realize it, how do you turn them around? How does the gift that you have help them manifest the next stage in their life?
Exactly. Well, first is the truth sets you free. First of all, you got to understand it and see it. It brings it up, and then you bring up the trauma. Like you bring up where is it rooted? And it's always just about the big stuff is rooted in childhood, because you come into this life with a blank slate, and we start writing on that blank slate to tell you what life looks like. And for Emma, like, life looked like she's lonely, and money looked like it was taking away the thing she loved the most. So we work this out, and then forensic healing has healing corrections. So it would be, I would apologize. I would start taking the burden and apologize to Emma, saying sorry for what happened. I'm sorry that you lost the person you loved the most. I'm sorry you were lonely. And it's a healing process, and I use various things. One of them is saying you're sorry and talking through. So this little girl, it's like we recreate the little girl and say, you deserved more. You deserved your mother. And saying sorry. It might be an energy healing of taking off sacrifice vows. There's like different processes of words, action. I also shake it out of people, but it's set up in a way. We have a protocol, so it's set up to release what we find. You find it, and then you release it. That's basically the process.
So you're identifying.
Yeah, identify the root cause,
and then let it go.
And then I'll have a manual that will say, okay, we got to take off a curse. All right, so we got to say certain words. I use words from the Kabbalah. And then you might have to touch the body in certain points. But I do something at the end of it, and I physically shake their feet, and it's like it releases it. I mean, animals shake out their fear, and we already start with a beginning in the protocol that's asking for high sources and enlightened beings. We already set it up like that to then come through us as a conduit. So there's different processes along the way. And then physically I shake it out, and people physically feel it. It's like the most feeling modality that I've ever worked with. They go, whoa, I felt like something leave me, and I feel lighter.
And I can even get an image that sometimes when its work is done, that belief that's there that sort of takes on a personality of its own, when it's ready to go, it's ready to go.
Yeah.
And it just sort of takes off. Yeah, you would feel that.
And people react in so many different ways. Myself, I can react. I just start coughing. Like coughing. I threw up my first husband in March on the table getting this amazing. I literally threw him up.
Was that more of a projectile or sort of like a dry heat?
It was a projectile, but it's okay because I got to the bathroom just in time. So it's all right.
So no cleanup.
It was all good. It was all good. We can flush that. But yeah, so many people react in different ways. Some people cry. Some people just lay there. Some people jerk. You can cough.
And you just
yawn,
stay in the bed for 3 days
just,
afterwards sometimes.
Well, actually, yes, you can, but mostly you feel really energized because you've been carrying that stuff. I'm 44. I've been carrying that stuff for 44 years. And it goes, and you're like, wow. And you feel centered. That's the biggest thing. You feel really in your power, and you feel centered. And it's just so freeing. It's a beautiful gift she's done. It's amazing.
It's universal laws, in fact. That's really what it's based on. It's what you say to yourself, but universal law. You go back to your childhood, so that's where you're always operating when things don't work well.
That's right.
Or right. And so universal law is to change all that, get you to say different thoughts, remove whatever it was, heal that child, create something better. So we're very big on universal laws. Watch what you're saying, watch what you're thinking.
Watch what you're feeling.
Watch what you're choosing.
Yes.
So every time I choose something that's sacrificial, I'm saying to the universe, I'm not worth much. And the universe goes, sure, we'll give you more. Yet you might be saying you want something else, but what are you choosing? You're still with someone that's toxic and negative? Well,
And which pile is bigger at the end of the day, at the end of the hour, at the end of the minute?
Yeah.
I think Eddie always says, be careful how you ask the universe, or because you saying don't.
Yes.
I used to always say, I don't want to be like my mom.
Yes.
I don't want to be like my dad. I don't want to be.
Presto, you're your
And
mother.
then your mother.
And then I'm like, why am I doing this? And I'm like, it's the same thing my mother would do. But then being around Eddie, he said the universe doesn't hear the negative.
Doesn't
That's
hear
right.
no. It knows
Well,
no is
You
yes.
gotta watch your languaging. It's just so important.
What it doesn't not only hear, but it's you're feeling the bad. You're going, I don't want that felt bad.
Yeah.
So what do you do now? What do you say now?
Now
Okay.
I'm like, I'm going to do my best I'm going to be a different type of a person. All right. I
Yeah,
always say it in a
like-
positive way.
Yes.
I don't, even when my mom and dad, if I talk to them
Yes.
and that
Yes.
little Tony gets back in my head.
Yeah, they live.
Because as soon as you hear the parents, you're
Yes.
the child again.
Yes.
I try to remember that who I am. I'm 45 years old. I'm Tony Sweet. I'm successful. I start remembering the things that I've accomplished and that I am.
And doesn't that feel better?
Oh, it feels much better. And then I'll say thank you for the sensitivity that my mother has. Thank
The
you for the
positive
humor
aspects.
that my
That's
dad
lovely.
gave me.
Right.
So I try to
Yeah.
really think of that instead
Yeah.
of like their negatives.
Well, with forensic healing, we do the patterns. So if your pattern is judgment, okay, so judgment means you feel judged as a child, you were judged, and you grew up and you still feel it. I would say to you, well, when they're back on their judgment stuff, you turn your pain into power. You say, thanks for reminding me to love myself. You say exactly the opposite. You're just reminding me that, and then you're programming this love for yourself, and then after a while, you're just loving yourself crazy, and after a while, they've got no effect, and after a while, they actually don't say it. Maybe that's often the case. They stop saying it because there's just none of this mirroring.
No, it's fascinating you say that because, owning a business, and I'm sure any of us
Yeah.
that start getting some success into whatever we're doing, psychic and forensic healers, and, your
Or shift leader at Taco
or
Bell.
wherever, whatever.
Yeah.
But there's that time where you're like, I can't do this. I can't. You start hearing those old voices in your head.
I'm an
can't do this.
imposter. Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
People are going to find out that, like you
Oh,
said,
right.
and then you're
That's
like,
the
whoa,
ego
whoa, whoa, whoa,
talking.
yeah, and so, and then you're like, wait a minute, no,
Yeah.
I'm a powerful human being, and
Absolutely.
not in a financial way or not in an egotistical way, but just in a powerful human being that I'm making a difference in this world.
Yeah. Well, I think it's more than maybe just ego. It's like a conditioning of if you're like different, if you're alternative, you're not the norm, which is what we've been brought up to be, act like this, and this is acceptable.
Right.
So that's why you never really feel that great about being different because conditioning is be like this, and if you got that hair or you're at this size or whatever, it's wrong. You need to be accepted. You need to be like this. That's going, but that's kind of really what people are working against, showing who they really are, which is to be unique and to show us, the gift, which isn't like anyone else. That's the journey.
Which
I love it.
that it is always getting back to the heart of what is unique about you. Because I remember growing up, all the things that was uniquely me were all bad, taboo, wrong, against the
Yes.
religion and that sort
Exactly.
of thing. And if you're just tuning in, you're listening to On Air with Tony Sweet's Truth Be Told show. I'm Eddie Connor.
I'm Tony Sweet.
I'm Marisa Russo.
And I'm Emma Romano.
And today we're talking about forensic healing, and we're also talking to two master healers. Am I appropriate to say that?
If you'd like to call us that, we'll take
I
it.
love hearing it.
Okay, good.
We'll
You
take
can
all
say it
the-
again if you like it.
Or
We're
mystery.
still with two master healers of the universe. Now, will you paint a picture for Tony's audience? So when they hear forensic healing, you ladies have done a phenomenal job articulating it and painting pictures in our minds. But will you give us an elementary sort of step by step? Someone steps in front of you like Tony, you need a healing. And let's say Tony comes in and asks for healing about something. Give us a little breakdown of what that looks like, what a, quote, reading of energy is, some of the things that you would do, how you would approach it. And I'm just going to tack on to that. My favorite thing about this work is that we have to, as humans, learn to speak the language of non-physical, which is, for me, feelings, attitudes, emotions, and frequencies. And then certain parts of the body will hold a purer frequency than certain other areas. And I think, for me, that helps me dispel the myth and keeps it being scary and woo-woo for certain people who want to understand, but they're like,
Yes.
oh, my God, they're talking about that stuff again. Will you ladies walk us through what a, quote, forensic healing would sort of look like
Yep.
and what happens and what you're seeing and hearing
Sure.
when you do it?
I'll start with just what it's based on, and you can then walk them through. So you are an accumulation of all your experiences, negative and positive, with all of your relationships, of your beliefs. You're an accumulation of everything that's been done to you. So wherever you're at now is from your past. Okay.
Oh, Lord, look at the piles. I can see the piles.
Yeah, exactly. So
Get the shovel.
So that's right. What does that look like? And someone that's had a lot of suffering, a lot of difficult relationships, will generally have a lot of physical pain going on and struggle with finances. So it's just looking at, and most people know that. They go, I'm in this bad way because I've had a lot of stress. That no one argues with that. I've never had anyone on the table that's a basket case, a complete mess that will disagree. Never. They know they've got, internal dialogue and hurt and pain. So that's plain English, and that's sort of
Yes.
easy to understand. And then Emma will probably go through a couple of steps of, say, someone that comes in that's in a bit of a mess, just some of those steps of how to identify.
And if I can just add to that, it's so everything we think and feel and act upon will cause us to emit some kind of feeling or frequency or energy. And it's got to go somewhere. And if we're the one doing the admitting, we're going to have piles of stuff in us and around us energetically.
Eddie, that can pile into back pain, neck pain, cancer, MS. That can pile into anything.
Yeah.
And you're right. We hold it. We hold it. Even if you don't think about it, we hold it. So if I get a client on my table, I'll give, for instance, 69-year-old woman, 25 years of back pain, seeing a physiotherapist once a week, chewing painkillers like their Tic Tacs. Do you have Tic Tacs in this country?
Yes.
Yes. yeah.
Sorry.
And Skittles.
Skittles. So she's come in. She's 69 years of age. We found out at the age of 5 she came from Germany. So I've laid her on my table, on my massage table, on her back. She's comfortable. I've got nice music on, got nice candles, ambiance, beautiful. She feels very safe. I've taken the dog out of the room. So she lays there and she says, I don't know. All I want to do is get rid of this pain. I'm sick of it. I'm over it. I'm sick of feeling tired and in pain. Oh, okay. She lays down. We find out at the age of 5. So what I will do is I'll give her an energy shift. So I get her arm and I'll actually look for an energy shift in her arm. So I'm not asking her brain anything. It's a movement.
It's a change of movement.
Yeah. So I'm not asking her head or her memory a thing. I'm asking her body, her energy. So it went down at the age of 5. Her mother left Germany, got on a boat to Australia, and she was taken in the middle of the night. Her mother just picked her up and took her. So she had no idea where she was going or anything, and all she had was her pajamas on and a doll. And a man on the ship tried to take her doll away from her. Now, you might think it's just a doll, but that was her one thing that she felt she had.
Yeah.
That was it. That was it. We have found that out. We looked at her negative life patterns, sacrificial. She always sacrificed herself for other people. She was a martyr. She had negative life patterns. She was married like 5 different times with the same man.
Different man, same stuff.
Same,
yeah, I know what you mean.
She was abused the whole time, and she was a sick lady. We did a childhood energy healing on her, and it was amazing. So I literally took her back to her childhood. So she laid on the table. I had my hands on her head, and I just talked to her. It's like a meditation almost.
Yes.
So I take her back to when she's 5. So her 69-year-old self goes back to when she's 5. She holds herself, and she tells herself, "You're okay. I'm going to look after you. I love you. You are loved. You are safe." She is bawling her eyes out because she didn't even remember that. She doesn't remember when she was 5, but she went straight back to it. After that, her pain level went from 8 to 10 down to 2 to 10.
Wow.
She left my house. I was pretty chuffed with that. I was like, oh my gosh, this stuff's good, right? She rang me at 6:30 in tears, saying, Emma, it's the first time I have been pain-free in 25 years. I have 0 pain. She goes, I can't thank you enough.
And it's so unfamiliar to them to be pain-free.
Well, she said it was 6:30 that night, and usually she'd be dosed up on painkillers just trying to get through dinner and making herself dinner. So that was very powerful. So
I love that. You know, the image that comes to me as you ladies are telling, especially this story, I bet somewhere between the 5th year and the 6th year and the 7th year in each of the marriages, that's when everything went to hell.
It did.
And
she had 5 years in each, literally between 5 and 6 years of each.
And
that's amazing.
That's how the subconscious mind keeps repeating the pattern until we finally say, we've had enough, we're done.
Yeah.
And then we free ourselves of it.
Yeah, the other thing that I've discovered during this process is that when you sacrifice or when you're traumatized, you lose part of your soul. You lose soul fragments. You lose soul fragments when you leave a country. It's part of you's left behind. When someone dies and there's no healing process, part of you, some people say, I feel like I lost my arm when they died. I'm not whole anymore. And when you give and give and give, you give away part of yourself, it's part of your soul fragments. So when we bring also those fragments back, we return them back to the body, and it's this wholeness. One healing pathway might be the returning of soul fragments. Shamans do it, in fact.
I love shamans.
Yeah, and shamans will say you can't live your destiny if your soul fragments, if you're not whole, if your soul fragments are missing. I had a crazy story about being in a relationship just recently, and I was kind of obsessed or could not be disconnected from this guy. I just kept on feeling I had to be with him. I'd say to him words like, you are my air to breathe. And he didn't want that type of relationship. I know he didn't, but I was honest, and he said, be honest. So I said these things. And then over this process, I was crazy. My energy was going, give me back something, but I didn't know, and I didn't know what was going on. Nice guy. Long story short, when he finally said, we're over and we're done, I felt like I had no air. I felt suicidal.
Oh.
I had no air. And then I did all this meditating, healing, and whatever. And then I realized he had a fragment of myself, and I pulled it back. And it was the first time that I actually felt this relief. And it was a huge fragment, and I actually realized the lifetime it was and when I'd done it in this past life. But when it came back, everything fell into place. My energy increased. He used to sleep 6 hours. Now I only sleep 6 hours. I used to look at him and go, you're a superhuman. And I realized he was operating on part of me that I'd given.
Hello.
Anyway, crazy as that is.
No, that's not crazy.
But bringing back, because you give. And when you say, I wish I could take away your pain, and in that emotion, you give part of yourself.
Yeah.
Or people take it. So aligning these fragments, if you love shamans, you know that's their specialty. We also do that to make you whole.
I'm fascinated with this because we're in the land of glitz and glamour and Hollywood and red carpets and bulimia. The reason I laugh about it, but the reason I don't live in West Hollywood where all the pretty boys are is because I like carbs, and they don't. But in this world especially, how many people have, and I'm not going to point any celebrities out because that's not what we're doing right now. How many times have you seen famous people who achieve a high level of recognition on some level, and then it falls to pieces because some of those fragments are missing? And so they'll get to a certain level and it'll all go to hell. They'll get to a certain level again, it'll all go to hell. The pattern keeps repeating until they do the inner work. And I think, and that's why I like reality TV. You can see people's neuroses energetically, and they can't see it. It's so sad.
I know. But sometimes it takes somebody to show it to you. It's like my story. I didn't know that I had said about my mother and all that at the age of 12. About abundance and about money. I would never have thought of that in a million years. But forensic healing, it's like 20 years of therapy in half an hour.
Yeah.
It's full on. It'll hit you in the face and you go, oh my God.
Well, and our friend Dr. Shirley, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Our friend Dr. Shirley here, she's a psychologist. She is flipping amazing. And one of the things she says is when you're a child, you're an old soul sometimes. You're an old soul, but you're still you have the brain of a child.
Yeah, you're still in that body that you're in.
Exactly. And she says that even though we sometimes come in with unhealthy parents, I'm not talking about yours, unhealthy parents.
One of them was very unhealthy.
Yeah, that was horribly dysfunctional.
Yeah.
That in our brains, our human brains, as an old soul in a 2-year-old body, we don't look at mommy and daddy and go, oh my God, they are schizophrenic. Oh my God, they're bipolar. Oh my God, they're being appropriate by molesting me sexually. We don't do that. No. Instead, we go, what's wrong with me?
Yes.
What do I need to do to make them stop hurting? We carry it.
That's a good point, Eddie. In fact, when I've got someone on the table, they start making excuses. Like they'll say, oh, but they had that done to them. And I said, wait a minute. wait a minute, I need to fight for that
Yes.
child,
Yes.
and stop making excuses, because as soon as you make excuses, you're not defending, and you'll make excuses your whole life at what everyone does to you. I say no, fight that. No matter what was happening, no matter what they went through, that child deserved love, nurturing, and to feel safe and to be protected. And I try and change that mindset, because a child needs it. That is like food. That is like, that survival.
That is their air.
That is, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
their love and connection being seen and heard authentically from the
Yes.
purest place possible and lighting up when you see them.
Yes.
That's really our soul speaking back.
Well, they know that they did experiments with monkeys and they didn't touch them or love them, and they died. That's like,
And plants.
Yeah,
The
plants.
same
Yeah,
pla-
they can do it. Have you heard about the bags of rice?
No.
You cook. Okay, here's an experiment for everybody at home. Cook up some rice. Put one in one jar. Put a bunch in one jar in one room, and put a bunch of cooked rice in another room. Go up to one jar every single day and go, I love you. You're amazing. Oh my God, look at you, you're white and fluffy and beautiful. Go to the other one, go, you are the ugliest thing I've ever seen. I hate you, I hate you. It'll turn black and moldy. And the one with the fluffy one can last for months on love.
oh,
I so.
Try that
We need to
out.
try
And
that.
by the way, there was a time when we would have food and we would bless it. We would appreciate it. We were grateful for it. We would talk to it.
Not
We
much
would pull
anymore.
that shit out of the ground. We'd be like, you're the prettiest turnip I've ever seen.
Yes.
And we'd wash it off and we would clean it up.
And you cook with love.
Yes, because you wanted you. What happened? They don't do that at Taco Bell.
We need to do it again.
We're running out of time. So I know we
have
only have a
to.
few minutes left. So here's what I'm going to ask, because there's people in the chat room, and Annie wants to know. Can anyone recommend a first step for those who are brand new to the concept of forensic healing and are interested in finding a legitimate healer? So
What city?
Are
We
you
should ask her if
are
she's
you
in LA.
local? So if you could put
If
it
she's in Australia.
yeah, well, yeah, Australia. But if
That's if you say Australia with an English accent.
I know.
and she says, by the way, I'm yelling at my rice now.
Oh my God.
I love it. Annie, is it?
Yeah.
Annie, you don't actually need somebody right here. We can do it through Skype. So you
that's a
can
good
actually,
idea.
yeah.
And by the way, Annie, that stuff works. So just
Oh,
because,
it does.
telephone readings, telephone
Yeah.
sessions, Skype sessions,
right.
energy is energy, period. And
Yeah.
it works. Why am I telling?
well, yeah, but
Thank you, Eddie.
But you think about it, like those listening in now will know what they feel from people. They meet someone and they know if they feel right or what they're thinking. If it's kind and loving, it just oozes out of them, doesn't it? So
Yes.
that's the same thing as energy healing. Tap in, and we can do it
Yeah.
anywhere.
You can do it anywhere.
Well, both of you are from Australia,
Yeah.
and you're in Los Angeles, so there must be a reason you're here besides just to see us. So tell us what brings you to Los Angeles. Do you have a workshop?
Yeah,
going on?
I had a 7-day workshop. Its final day was
Today.
today.
Oh, today,
It's
okay.
I'm back next May in LA.
Los Angeles.
You might be back a little earlier.
I'll be back if you'll have me back. But I do.
Of course.
It's my favorite city in the whole wide world,
Oh, really?
and you're
No.
my favorite man.
I was going to
Tony.
say.
That's right, of course.
Now Eddie, too.
And now
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Oh, hang on. I'll have
I'm
Eddie.
okay.
Eddie, you're mine.
Thank
That's
you,
right.
Emma.
And I'll take
You're my
Tony,
friend.
yeah.
There's-
Boom.
all right. We'll share.
we're not. Yeah, we're
We'll
not.
share. Yeah.
We're not going to high five. We're going to give a hug.
Oh,
All
that's
right, awesome.
beautiful.
Then
So-
I'll cut him when you ain't looking. Then you can heal him.
Okay, we have about 2 minutes left. Okay, tell us all your locations where people can find you, tweet you, Facebook you. Give us all the rundown.
Okay. They can go to forensichealing.com, and there's a free startup course. So they want to try the system. It's free, and there's a practitioner directory there. They
Yeah.
can look at the practitioners up there.
And if you want to email me, it's emmaromano@y7mail.com.
At
Y7
Y7.
7 Y
Like
M-A-L-E.
male is in
Seven,
male, female,
yeah, and
or male is
M-A-
in male?
MAIL.
Okay.
.com.
Okay. You know,
And that's
these days
Emma
you never know.
Romano. ROMANO.
ROMANO. Got it.
Yes.
Okay, good. And what part of the city are you in? Do you feel
I'm in
comfortable saying
Melbourne. I'm in Melbourne, Australia.
that? Okay.
Yeah. So it's all
They
good.
got some pretty people down there, too.
I know.
See, that's
Examples.
one of your
Thank
blocks.
you.
Come on down and visit. You visit.
I would love to.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to come to Australia.
Okay,
Yeah.
We need to do
I
a
want to
truth be
come to
told down there.
Australia, but I don't
Yeah.
want to come when it's raining spiders.
Oh,
It
yes.
doesn't rain spiders.
I saw it on YouTube.
I got a thing on this, right? People hate spiders. I hate mosquitoes and flies more.
Well, they don't have a lot of
Yeah,
mosquitoes
you haven't
here.
met a roach.
Yeah, no, right.
So the spiders eat the the mosquitoes and the flies. So I love
Yeah,
spiders.
but if a mosquito or a
snakes.
fly is on me, thank you, or a snake,
Yeah.
Eddie, come to my house. I will protect you.
thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, my new friend.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, Marisa and Emma, we thank you so much. We love you guys.
Thank you so much.
And
Thanks for having us.
Of course. I can't believe that hour went so fast.
I know.
We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have our next guest on all the way from South Africa, Michael Tellinger. He is the real life Indiana Jones, and he has a lot of stuff to say about the history that we've been taught and taught wrong. So don't go anywhere. Truth Be Told with Tony Sweet,
I'm Eddie Connor.
and we'll be right back.